Hi guys, it's Chris, back in my cider shed with another cider to try. But in fact, two glasses. Two glasses for two ciders. Now, if you been watching recently, you may have seen the film I did where I took a Kingston Black and paired it against a Kingston Black. And the first Kingston Black was from the Newt in Somerset. And the second Kingston Black was from the old Stag Cider in Gloucestershire. Well, what have we got now? We have Yarlington Mill from the Newt in Somerset, and we have Yarlington Mill from Old Stag Cider in Gloucestershire. So we're going to repeat the process with a different varietal. And the varietal that I would probably say was my favourite cider apple. If I had to pick one, I'd pick Yarlington Mill. I've just had a lot of Yarlington Mills that I really, really like. A lot of cider makers, I don't know, this Kingston Black, King of the Hill kind of thing, I don't know. I read an article today about it, actually, written by, who was it by? Was it by Adam Wells or James Finch? I can't remember. One of the two, those two great writers. Anyway, pretty much saying, yeah, what is it about Kingston Black? And his favourite varietal, I believe, is Davenant. At least it was when I read at the time of writing the article. I don't think it was a new article. Anyway, but Yarlington Mill, if I had to pick one, that would be mine. So, let's start, as we did last time, with the Yarlington Mill. And it's got a little bit more colour than the Kingston Black had. I felt the Kingston Black was a little pale. I felt on many levels a little bit austere. I didn't feel like it tasted of Kingston Black very much. It tasted almost like an East Coast style cider, like a culinary dessert, sort of apple style cider to me. Anything on the bottle before we start? 5% ABV. Nice. We like that low ABV. 2020, this vintage. In 1898, a wild apple tree was found growing in the Somerset village of Yarlington by Mr. Edward Bartlett, the village miller. The estate has continued this legacy by planting one of the largest traditional orchards in the UK with over 225 of these fantastic cider trees with a Y. So cider. Less than a mile from where it was discovered. Our number 3 Yarlington Mill cider is rich, full-bodied and deliciously sweet, balancing strong tannins and residual sugars with aroma and flavour of baked apple. This sweet cider is perfect to enjoy with blue cheese. I'm not going to get into the cheese thing. If I was going to have this with anything, I mean, what would you have with this? Cheddar. I mean, what's the classic Somerset cheese? Cheddar. So you'd have cheddar, and in the neighbouring village to Yarlington is North Cadbury, and that's where Montgomery's cheddar's made, one of the greatest cloth-bound, unpasteurised cheddars in the world. Some would argue the. But anyway, whatever. So I wouldn't go for a blue cheese. I'd go for... They've missed a trick there. Totally missed a trick. Right, let's open this sucker. Yeah. Other than that, the description sounded delicious. That's it. I like a bit of sweetness. Doesn't bother me. This does have a nicer colour to it. It's almost got like a blush, like a rosé blush to it, this, rather than an amber colour. It has a little bit more colour. But yeah, I want to say it's got like a rosé kind of characteristic to it. So there it is. So you see that? It's like pinkish, isn't it? Yes, Chris, it is. Makes me think of like a Provençal, very like rosé from Provence. Something like that. Something that I never drink. Yeah. Quite light bubbles. Didn't seem particularly fizzy on it. It was a little bit of a hiss. I feel I can smell it already. That's a big pour. Oh, I've got 2 glasses, haven't I? So I'll have to neck it. I won't have to neck it, but it doesn't matter what. Right, let's smell it. Now that smells to me much more like a cider apple than the Kingston Black did. Much more like it. There is some sweet, there's like a baked, aged, sweet, rich apple character to it, and also it's like earthiness. There's like a forest floor kind of thing going on there as well, which I really like. Almost smells keeved, to be honest with you. It says it's got residual sugar. I don't know how they've got that residual sugar. Maybe by racking off, perhaps. Not by keeving. I think they would have mentioned if it was keeved. I feel they would have mentioned if it was keeved, but they didn't. So I don't know. Racking off? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Anyway, very pleasing nose. I much prefer it already, just on the nose. But let's taste it, because that's the important bit. Quite fizzy, but the bubbles are pretty fine. Just gets away with it. Minerality. There's that ripe, rich apple, but it's quite delicate. It was more obvious on the nose and on the palate. There is acidity in this as well. There's acidity in this as well, which is very nice. Again, it's quite gentle. It's quite delicate, subtle, gentle, aperitif-like, I want to say. So, well, it's aperitif-like, as was the Kingston Black. However, I find this has got a little bit more going on. It's a bit richer, a bit deeper, a bit more complexity to it. I feel when it warms up, it's going to have more. The residual sugar's nice. It's not what you'd classify as sweet by any stretch of imagination, but it's lovely. It's almost like a. It's just with that acidity and minerality, that sweetness kind of works. And actually, hang on. Solid tannin as well. Not super strong, but it's there. Gives it structure. Yeah. Still quite delicate. But it's a better cider. I have to say, it is a better cider for me, for my palate, than the Kingston Black, hands down. So yeah, the Yarlington Mill wins in that particular scrap of the Newts, the two Newts scrapping it out, and number 3, the Yarlington Mill wins. Right, so we open the second one. Yes, please, Chris. All right, I will. So, glass, bottle opener, bottle of cider. So there we go. So the Kingston Black from these guys was 8.4. This one is a stately 6.3, which is, I mean, that seems like almost like low alcohol compared to 8.4, doesn't it? Anything on here for us? Medium, it's a medium cider, lot number YM04, so YM, Yarlington Mill 04. Don't know what that means. What 04 means, I don't know what it means in this context. Contains whole juice and sulphites. Milled and pressed in Fairford, Gloucestershire. Drink responsibly, of course. Anything on this side? Yarlington Mill is a Somerset late season bittersweet apple. It has its distinct flavour and not too heavy in tannin with softer stringency. Enjoy lightly chilled. I will. So colour-wise, you can only see this is a bit darker than this. It's got a bit more colour, which is what I expect. The Kingston Black was very light for Kingston Black. Very delicate sparkle there when I opened it. But I'll pour some more of that. We'll look at it side by side in the glass, because that's going to give us a better idea of the distinction. Yeah, side by side is quite a big difference, actually. So that, okay. And this is what it was like the other day as well, with the Newt and the old Stag. And this is much darker than this. I feel this time this is bringing a bit more colour to the party. Just pour it down my arm. It's gone down my sleeve. This is bringing a bit more colour to the party, but this has certainly got, look at that. It's like, this is like Iron Brew Tizer kind of territory, isn't it, this is more like, not. So, yeah. Makes me think. Let's have a proper look at it though. There you go, look at that. Lovely, bright amber. Let's smell it. More delicate on the nose, I would suggest, actually. More delicate on the nose. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, it's like so different. So people talk about apples, but there's so many more things to consider when you're talking about ciders. Vintage, all the tiny little things a cider maker can do, the weather can do, the fruit can do, the tree can do. It's like sitting at a mixing desk and just twiddling knobs, very, very subtly. I always think of it like you take like a major chord or a minor chord. Like the difference between a major chord and a minor chord is the smallest possible sort of increment in Western music, It's a semitone, right? But a major chord is like happy, and a minor chord is kind of sad. And it's that tiny thing, just that one step, half step makes such a big difference. And it's like that with fermented fruits and foods of all sorts of shapes and sizes and colours. It's just it's so different, and it just makes me excited. I really like that. Sorry, I went off on one there, didn't I? But it's true. It's true. It's what makes it so interesting. That's why I'm not interested in industrial standardised stuff. Life's too short. Right. There's a rich apple hiding in there. It's hiding quite well. I can just about pick him out. He's just like at a bush over there. He's not completely camouflaged, but he's doing a pretty good job of hiding from me. Very delicate. Let's try it. Okay. This is drier It's they both mean it feels like there's less obvious sugar in this. There is residual sugar, absolutely. Also has that minerality that I detected in the Newt. There's some acidity as well. I think it's slightly less acid, but I don't feel it's quite as sweet, so that works okay. I mean, the Kingston Black from Old Stag was a beast. I mean, it was a beast. It felt boozy and thick. This is much lighter in every regard. Yeah, the legs on it are nothing like as obvious as they were, you know, so it's not as viscous. Again, just on the higher end of carbonation for me. It's all right. More gentle, more austere, less rich. Less of that ripe, rich, baked apple character to this. It is actually lighter, more minerality, more acid. Feels fresher than I thought it was going to be. And by fresh, I mean like a piece of it that hasn't been tampered with, as in like baked or, you know, sorted or whatever, than I thought it was going to be. Now let me just try it next to this. Yeah, on the nose, this wins. It does win. Much closer in character, these. Much closer on the palate. The nose on this is much more appealing. This is more subtle. This is more obvious. On the palate, they're not exactly the same, but there's not a lot to choose between them, to be perfectly honest. And I think I might be leaning towards the Newt today. This isn't a bad cider, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. But there's a delicacy to these. This is bringing more to the party, and this has actually toned it down a bit from the last tasting. And so they're more on a par. More on a par. Both worth trying, I think. But they're both quite delicate. They're not in your face of Yarlington Mills. They're quite delicate, both of them, which surprised me. So yeah, I'd probably go for that one just because it's 5%. Because actually it's bringing as much flavour to the party for me, but for like 1.3% less ABV, which I think is great. I think it's great. So there you go. 2 Yarlington Mills. And that was really interesting again. I wish you had more of these to do. They had another one as well, which I did a dab at it as well, which I didn't get. Maybe I'll try and get their dab at it, and this dab at it, and do it again. Let's do all 3. Why don't we try and do that? Let's try and do that. All right, Chris. Cool. Right. So there you go, guys. Yarlington Mill from Old Stag Cider, and Yarlington Mill from the Newt, Somerset, Gloucestershire. Side-by-side tasting, and how interesting it was as well. Right, guys. So as always, thank you for joining me in my shed. I hope you join me again. But until then, cheers.